Today's tutorial is for the Variety. This is a makeup cosmetic bag or pouch from Backstitch and Based. I did a full tutorial on the Variety, the basic simple version last week. But in this tutorial, I'm not going to go over all the steps since I just did a full tutorial on a very basic version of the Variety. But in this one, I'm going to show you how to make two different types of slip pockets. One will be kind of like a pleated cargo pocket, but the other one will be a gathered pocket with an elastic top. That one will be a slip pocket as well. I'll sew most of this off camera and just come back to show you the parts that are going to be doing a little bit different. For this tutorial, I'm going to be making the largest size, that's the maxi. I'm going to be using this panel from Jen's Fabrics. I'm going to be using my Wizardry sewing string. I'm going to be using a tag from Heartwood and Hide. My zipper tape is from Natural Nerd. My vinyl is a glitter vinyl from My Little Shindig. That's the materials I'm using. Let's talk about the pieces now. So I'm going to have the zipper and two pulls. This is going to be your main panel piece. I'm going to have two exteriors and two linings. For the exteriors, thinking about doing a Decaville Light or a Thermoland fleece. I'm not for sure which one yet. I'm going to go and look and see which one I have the most of, and that'll help me determine it. But I will put that on both of the two exterior main pieces, and I will keep that out of the seam allowance. I will also put that on the exterior base piece. I have one exterior and one lining base piece. I'm also going to put the Decaville Light or the fleece on two of the exterior zipper panels. So we have 4 in total, 2 exterior, 2 lining. The Decaville Light will also go on the side panels for the gusset. And then I have 2 interior side pieces. This is going to be those little tab pulls. It'll go just on the sides so that it's helpful to open and close the pouch easier. This pouch is going to be for me, so I'm really going to just make it for the way that I prefer the feel of it. I don't have a lot of foam. Typically, I would prefer to put foam in a pouch like this, but I'm almost out of foam, so I'm going to use what I have. I will let you know what I decide on when I come back, but I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to make my gusset. I will have a link in my description for my full tutorial on this pattern, but when I come back, I will have the gusset made, and then we will be ready to start on making the pockets, both the pleated and the gathered, to add to the lining and get this pouch made. So while off camera, I went ahead and sewed a tag on the back of the bag. I marked the centers on the top and the bottom of my front exterior. I have everything interfaced with a Thermoland because that is the material I have the most of, so that's why I'm using that to give it some support. I did sew the gusset entirely. So now we're going to move on to how to sew the pockets. We're going to make 2 different types of pockets in this tutorial. They're both going to go on the inside. This is the lining piece for the cargo slip pockets. I have 4 of these cut out. We'll be putting the 2 together to make 2 sets of slip pockets. So here is another one. What I'll do first is just put these right sides together and start this by making a traditional slip pocket by sewing along the top long edge. So once you have them put right sides together, making sure that everything matches up, go ahead and sew from one side to the other across the top with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Once you have them sewn right sides together, go ahead and open it up, and what I like to do is I like to just kind of finger press, or if you wanted, you can take it over to the iron and just kind of press that seam flat. I feel like that helps me get a nicer edge on the top. So after I press that flat, then I just fold it wrong sides together, roll those seams so that they are nice and pressed, and then I'm going to clip all along the top to make sure I have a really nice edge for top stitching. The next step on both of these are the same steps so far, I'll tell you when we deviate, is just to sew a row of top stitching across the top. You can do your traditional 1/8 of an inch away from that top folded edge. After we have that first row of top stitching done on one of the slip pockets, I'm going to use the measurement given the pattern and make a second row of top stitching. What this is actually doing is making a case for my elastic so I can make a gathered pocket. So I'm just going to take it over to my machine, start, and this one's going to go parallel all the way down the long edge. So just another row of top stitching, making sure you're using that. I'm going to go a little bit bigger on that. So making sure that you are following the pattern measurements and sewing straight across that edge to make the casing. Now that you have that row of top stitching, go ahead and do a basting stitch starting at that lower line that we just made of top stitching, and baste down the side, across the bottom, and then up on the other side. This one will just be 1/8 of an inch away, just your traditional basting stitch. The pattern piece gives us a series of 4 measurements along the bottom. It's actually not measurements, I should say markings. So you're going to make those markings along the bottom. Make sure you mark them within the seam allowance. I know you may not be able to see my markings very well, but I'll still explain the steps, and the pictures and the pattern, both of those together will help. So what you do is you take one marking that's closest to the center. I pinch at that marking, and then I'm going to fold it over to the second marking on the same side that's farther away from the center. That is just making a pleat so that we have a pleated pocket. I'm going to put a clip here to hold this in place while I do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and baste those 2 pleats, making sure that this bottom raw edge, it matches up, and I'm just going to do another 1/8 of an inch basting, but this time I'm going to make sure I do back and forth a couple times to really lock in those pleats so I don't have any problems with them shifting later. If your edges are not matching up, definitely fix that. They need to be in line. The raw edges at the bottom need to be in line. Now it is time to put your elastic in through the casing you made. I want to tell you a couple of things I've done before. There's been times that I've actually sewed the elastic on the side before I would make the casing and kind of pull it and then sew it and then make the casing. I've tried to use a safety pin. I've used hemostats. To be honest, all of the methods work about the same. It just takes some time and some patience to get it to go through. I'm going to go off camera and get this to go through. Once I get it through both sides, I'm going to sew the elastic in place. Just tack it down with a basting stitch on this side and then all the way on the other side, and then that's what's going to make that gathered pocket have that pull and that structure there and have that stretch in it. Once you have the elastic through this pocket piece and you have basted it into place, what you're going to do now is you're going to match up the sides and the bottom to an interior main piece. So your interior main piece will be right sides up and your slip pocket piece will be right sides up. Start with one side and go ahead and clip that side into place, and then we will go on to the other one. Make sure when you're basting this into place that you're not basting anything on the actual main panel piece that's curled or pleated or has any puckers. So take your time. So what I'll do is I'll take my time to hold everything flat while I'm sewing over. So I'm going to back stitch when I start. And I'm just watching to make sure I have these edges lined up, but also that main panel piece continues to lay flat. You can go ahead and take this piece and attach it now to your back or your front. I'm going to choose to add this to my back piece, and just like I said in my original tutorial, you'll just place your lining and your exterior back main panels wrong sides together, to baste them in place. Since this is a bound bag, that will be how we do that. Before I go on to doing that, I'm going to pull out that other pocket. I have it prepped the same way we started the first one. I have it sewn right sides together, and now I'm just going to flip it wrong sides together. Go ahead and top stitch. And what I'm going to do on this one is when I start top stitching on this top, I'm going to go ahead then and baste all around the sides and the bottoms, because I'm not making a casing for the elastic on this one. So now we have this slip pocket just completely sewn together as one piece, raw edges at the bottom, folded edge at the top. I went ahead and again and made those same markings from the pattern piece. I'm again going to take the one that's closest to the center and fold it to the one on the same side that's farther away from the center, making sure I keep everything in the bottom, those raw edges, lined up. Put a clip there. Come over to the other side and do the same thing. Find the mark that's closest to the center. Pull it on this to the mark on the same side that's farthest away from the center. Clip it. And we are going to baste these in place once again. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kind of mimic that bottom here on the top. I'm not going to sew this down though. I'm just going to take it over the iron and do a really good press on it. It'll make a memory crease and it'll kind of hold its shape a little bit. And this way we will have just a little more depth in this one as well. So that's how this looks. I'm going to go and crease that with the iron, and then I will attach it to the other lining piece just like I did this one, and I'm going to go ahead and add these all together to the exterior so we'll have everything ready to finish the bag. Before I finish this bag and show you how everything looks at the end, I just want to show you the difference between the two slip pockets. So this one is gathered and you can see it has elastic in it. This one has a lot more stretch, so you can put a lot more things in there to be able to kind of accommodate bigger items. This one, of course, is a flatter one, but it still has plenty of open space in there. It kind of depends on what style you like and what you're looking for. Here are the linings. Let's flip them over. I have them attached to the exteriors. And this one, I know it's kind of bunching up a little, but after you put it together with the gusset and you bind around, that won't be a problem. Just note that. Here is my gusset. It is finished and ready to go. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew everything else on camera. I do have the full tutorial for this that I did just last week, so I feel like you probably don't need to see the other version. I'm just going to put the exterior of the gusset right sides together with the exterior main panels, sew around them, and then bind everything. I will come back to show you how it looks just so we can kind of peek in and see how those pockets look in the end, but I will do these steps off camera. I have finished my Varietti maxi pouch. This is the biggest size. I have it bound. This is the slip pocket without any casing at the top, no elastic in this one. And then this is the one with the elastic. Now the one with the elastic does seem to be fitting a lot better. This is not written in the pattern. I just kind of did it just to check it out and see. I like both of them, but definitely I can see where this one is a better fit. Binding looks great. The shape looks great. And the stability. So let's go ahead and turn this out and see how it looks from the right side. Even before any shaping, this looks adorable. I love a good pouch. I love one with a really steady, stable base so that I can use it easily. Super cute. Definitely have to do the shaping on it. The gusset's nice and wide. Everything fits really good. Let's go ahead and look inside just to check and see how those pockets are doing. But I have a feeling that I will like the one with elastic a lot better. Yep, I can see that this one's going to probably... The one without the elastic definitely will be able to kind of flop open easier, which is probably not what I want. The one with the elastic is going to hold everything in sturdy, so that's definitely the better bet in my opinion. Both of them are cute, but this one's not in the pattern. Like I said, I just decided to try it out. Binding looks great, very wide open. This would be great as a travel bag or something to kind of take with you and keep things organized and handy. Super love it. So I'm going to go off camera and shape everything up, get ready for some pictures for this bag. You will see me promoting it on Facebook. This panel is from Jen's Fabrics. The vinyl is from My Little Shindig, and I just love both of these. I'm going to have a link for everything in my description, the pattern and the fabrics. And today I hope in your sewing room that you just try a new technique, play around with something as simple as a slip pocket, just to kind of understand the better ways to do things on a bag. And I hope that you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching another one of my tutorials.